Thank you to A Duck, Jordan Stein, 1234 Fireball, and probably others for requesting this episode. Welcome to Conlang Critic, the show that gets facts wrong about your favorite Conlang. I'm Jan Beasley, and in this episode we'll be looking at what I'm pretty sure is Interslavic. Interslavic is a name given to a large number of very similar Conlangs, the oldest of which was created by the late Juraj Križanec in 1659. The various versions of Interslavic are designed to work for communication between speakers of different Slavic languages. Unlike certain other limited-scope international languages, Interslavic makes no claims of being universal, and is very clear about who it is for. The version of Interslavic I'll be focusing on in this episode was based on two other versions, called Sloviansky and Neo-Slavonic, created in 2006 and 2009 respectively, each by groups of people too numerous to properly credit. This version is a unification of the two, also created by a large committee, which started being made in summer 2017. Interslavic's consonants are ma, na, nya, ba, da, ga, pa, ta, ga, ja, ca, cha, va, za, zha, fa, sa, sha, cha, ya, wa, la, ra, ria. In addition to these consonants, there's also an additional 6 optional consonants, which only appear in what's called flavorized Interslavic, a more complicated form of the language more optimized for preserving pronunciations. Excluding the optional flavorized consonants, this inventory is more or less compatible with every major Slavic language. The voiced post-alveolar/retroflex affricate is the most iffy sound here, as it isn't phonemic in Russian, which is by far the most spoken Slavic language, but since it's pretty much equivalent to a consonant cluster that might as well be a phonemic affricate, it gets a pass here. Interslavic's vowels are I, U, A, O, A. Much like the consonants, there's a decent amount of optional vowels here. Also, like the optional consonants, I'll be ignoring these. This 6 monophthong inventory is pretty much standard in Slavic languages. The only real issue I have with this inventory as a whole is just how non-committal it is. There's so much variation in pronunciation that there isn't any real way to know how any given word should be pronounced. Interslavic can be written with either the Latin alphabet or with the Cyrillic alphabet. You're encouraged to use whichever orthography is most intuitive for you, but prototypical Latin and Cyrillic orthographies do exist. This is not a great choice. Having the orthography be like a do-whatever-you-want thing means that, say, a Russian speaker writing Interslavic and a Polish speaker writing Interslavic will be essentially writing two completely different written languages which look more like their writers' first languages than each other. Interslavic vocabulary is derived in a rather systematic way, designed to ensure that any given word will be as recognizable as possible without putting too much of a bias in any given Slavic language. The 10 source languages are Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Polish, Czech, Slovak, Slovene, Serbo-Croatian, Bulgarian, and Macedonian. To determine what word to use for something, the Interslavic community looks at what words each of the 10 source languages use for that thing, and goes with whatever word is used by the most languages, counting Russian and Polish as 2 languages each. Ties are resolved based on the number of speakers each language has. This results in a natural bias towards Russian, but not an overwhelming one. For example, the Interslavic word for human, člověk, is very similar to the Russian, Belarusian, Polish, Czech, Slovak, Slovene, Bulgarian, and Macedonian words for the same thing. As another example, the word for water, voda, is similar to Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian, Polish, Czech, Slovak, Slovene, Serbo-Croatian, Bulgarian, and Macedonian. Of course, in a case like that, where all 10 source languages have basically the same word for something, it would be somewhat difficult to mess up, but I've seen more ambitious languages do worse. So, here's the thing. I don't speak any Slavic languages. Interslavic isn't made for me. I could go on describing how Interslavic's grammar works, but honestly, it wouldn't actually be all that helpful. Interslavic's grammar is complex, but less complex than its source languages. I'm sure if I were fluent in a Slavic language, then I would have more to say about this, but I don't, so I don't. All in all, as I said, Interslavic wasn't made for me. This episode is probably the least qualified I've ever been to talk about how good a language is. As much as I have learned about how Interslavic itself works, I simply do not have the necessary background to form an informed opinion on how well Interslavic achieves its goals. It was designed to be beneficial to a culture that I am simply not a part of. That in mind, I don't feel confident enough in my opinions about Interslavic to give it an actual ranking. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, where I'll be reviewing Volksprach. Well, that was kind of disappointing, but hey, I actually am in a position to talk about my thoughts on Volksprach. Also, in the next episode, I'll reveal what conlangs will be the subjects of the next batch of episodes. I've been slowly eating through this batch for the past year and a half, and in that time you guys have requested some pretty big name langs that I'm pretty excited to talk about. See you then.
Blackgill. I'm a bit excited because Blackgill has so many vowels, there's so many vowels, those languages Blackgill. I'm a bit excited because this episode is a first in a few ways. Blackgill.